Thank you guys for giving me a job and the opportunity to have my Make-A-Wish come true every week. Thank you so much.
Readable, just a lot of stations shifting on each other. Roger, you're good.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Sergeant First Class Ellis Noto. Welcome back to the Lima Charlie podcast by the Indiana National Guard. I'm joined by my co-host, First Sergeant Ramon Beatty, and our very special guest for today, Mr. Andy Shackleford. Shackleford, doing so great already. He is an employment specialist with Work for Warriors. Did I get all that right?
You did.
Do you want to reintroduce yourself, or
No,
are we
it's
good?
okay. I'm used to the last name thing. It's all right. Don't worry about it.
Shack Attack, I think.
Shack
That's right.
Attack.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, sir, thank you so much for coming on the Lima Charlie podcast by the Indiana National Guard. We're so happy to have you. What
you for
is
inviting me.
Work for Warriors?
Well, Work for Warriors is an organization started around NGB. It started with Georgia, and they established this format for helping their soldiers for employment, and they packaged it and presented it to National Guard Bureau. They loved it, advertised it to the rest of the states, and said, hey, would you guys like to participate in this? And 13 states have signed on so far. And it's a organization based solely to help out the individuals in the National Guard of their particular states gain employment, however that may be, if it's resume help or interviews and job placements. So that's where we're at.
So that's another way the National Guard Bureau is making sure that our soldiers are successful both on and off the battlefield. 13 states, 13 colonies. I see a connection. This is
That's
great.
Right. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
That's how we started.
you're recently retired, AGR.
I am.
Congratulations.
If you haven't noticed,
Yeah, you got
the
beard.
the standards of
the
my
NB.
haircut and a little different.
So, explain us like how you got involved with Work for Warriors, and then you said soldiers early, and then
Sure.
it's not
Sorry.
just for soldiers, airmen, and families, right? It's
Correct.
Or it's not just for soldiers, but for soldiers, airmen, and families.
Yes, it's a very hard habit for me to break since 20 some odd years in the Army. So please forgive me. Yes, it is for everyone in the Indiana National Guard, regardless of whether you're wearing a blue uniform or a green uniform, and their families as well. Pretty much anybody that can touch the individual soldier within the household, or anybody that's connected to that soldier, veterans. So we try to help out as many people as we can. So I got started with this, like you said, during my transition time. I found out how difficult it was for resumes. Resumes is not something that people go over frequently. It's not something, in 20 some odd years that I had ever focused on. So we really needed to lean into that. Fortunately, when you transition, there are a lot of resources out there for transitioning and that type of skill set. So I really leaned into all the courses that I could take for resume writing and tried to get as many assistants, as much assistance as possible. And I guess I developed a pretty good resume because, when you get hired on a organization like us, that your resume is basically your job interview. So I guess my resume was very impressive. So that's why I'm an employment specialist now. But I feel like I kind of have mastered that skill. I mean, it's a 2-page document, right? There's not a whole lot that you can get into for a long period of time. So it's not something that you need to study for a long period of time. You can really kind of get the feel of it in a few months and learn as much as you can. And what I found is that writing resumes was starting to get pretty easy for me after that. So it was kind of a no-brainer to apply for a job like this. And on top of all of it, I still get to help out people. And that's the moral of the story for me, really.
That was going to be my point, was being a former readiness NCO and affecting, up to 100-something soldiers at a time in their careers, that selfless service and taking care of soldiers and their families. And the readiness NCO is one of the hardest working person in the AGR system. So
hands down.
Sometimes underappreciated, but
A little bit.
I worked with you a little bit before when you're up there in South Bend, so a lot of people have a lot of nice things to say about you. So I'm not surprised that you're doing well currently.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, that was one of the main things. Is I knew I wanted to do something to help out still, because you'll see when you transition like that. That's something that never leaves you. If you're an NCO, I think it's ingrained in you to do that. So, like I said, it was just a no-brainer for me.
First Sergeant Beatty just brought up selfless service. Have you found that, and you're talking about resumes, that soldiers and airmen that are transitioning out are so used to that selfless service and being humble, they struggle to put their jobs on a resume and accurately describe it, right? Is that something you found?
That's a big one. Yeah, that's a big one, especially for the older individuals, like the higher ranking individuals. Some of them will leave half their actual resume off the resume, and they have so many different certificates and qualifications that some of them don't fully realize that in the civilian world it's a big deal, so you help them discover. That's why we have such close working relationship with the National Guard, so we can uncover some of these certificates and some of these things that make the individual soldier special. We stay in very close contact with all of the S1s and the unit members. So we try to get the full picture of the soldier when we're helping them with employment. And that's one of the ways that we do it.
It's got to be difficult or interesting at least, to take that ERB or that ORB and whatever the Air Force equivalent is and transfer that, a very rigid document, to illustrating what that soldier actually did. And we're so used to that.
It is the more complex the MOS, I think sometimes the harder it is to translate it in the civilian world. And so, but when you think about some of the individuals in our state, right? So when you think infantry guys that have been infantry their entire career, some of them don't really fully understand the skill sets that they have outside of the civilian world, right? Because these are just skills that they're expected to have at drill. It's not really an outstanding thing for them to have the skill when they're in the formation, but when they're in the office cubicle, it's a very big skill that they need to highlight. So
I had a full-bird colonel ask me one time. He looked at me and said, "What are you going to be when you grow up?" Because 11 Charlie infantryman, right? So I was going to be a professional potato cannon shooter,
right?
Like, as a joke, but I think it is what you make out of it. And there's so many programs and opportunities for education. Now private schools up to $2,500 a semester.
Yep.
NGSG, Army Cool program. I went through and did my project management certificate prep. I didn't take the exam. Shame on me. But there's so many opportunities that I think a lot of people just don't know that are out there. And, I'm an 11 Charlie, 19 Delta combat arms guy, and here I am. And it is what you get out of it. The Guard is what you get out of it. And you have to know how to put that on a resume of being a team leader, being a squad leader. You're a manager. You supervise people.
Yeah. So I think with what you just said, the Guard doesn't have a message problem, it has a messaging problem. The resources are there. Most of especially the young clients that I work with, have no idea that the Army Cool website even exists.
And they get like $4,000.
Exactly.
Right. It's a messaging problem. I think that's why we're here.
It's exactly why we're here.
We're talking about opportunities.
And man, so you've walked that path, and you got the project management certificate. I've gotten a few certificates that way too. How easy is that to get it's very simple. You get onto the website, you sign up, you register, you do what they walk you through the whole process. And if you need help, you just reach out to someone like me or your first line leader or someone that has experience with that. And man, it's almost instant the way it happens. You get hooked up to a project management certificate. You just go through the program and boom, there you go. And some of these certificates are thousands upon thousands of dollars when it comes to salary negotiations. Like, for example, if you got your Agile project management certificate, that's going to make a big difference when you go to interview for your next position. If it's a project management job, not a lot of people have that skill, and it's very desirable right now. So that's something that, like you said, perfect example. You got 11 Charlie Bubba out there who, okay, you've got your degree, right? Good for you. Go out and get your project management certificate, and you will be way more marketable than just about anybody in your field because of the 11 Charlie mentality and all of the hard work that you had to do for that specific MOS. And I'm going to help you translate that for you. Right. So,
And I think we're going to talk about resumes a little bit more
Sure.
in depth, but yeah, your resume is how you're selling yourself on paper to
it's very
someone that's
difficult.
going to look at it for not even a minute.
7 seconds
Yep.
is the average time an HR manager, and they don't even. So there's a system out there. It's called the ATS system. And if you're listening, I need you to pay attention to this part right now. So the ATS system is an automatic system that's any company, especially big companies, have in their HR department. And what it is, so say, for example, it's Eli Lilly or GM or some of these big companies that post these jobs. They get hundreds and hundreds of resumes, right? They have 1 or 2 HR people. They don't have time to do their daily tasks and go through all those resumes at the same time and hire and everything. That's a very difficult process. So they instantly put it through this ATS system. So your resume goes through, doesn't even get viewed by a human being yet. So your application goes through this system, and if there are not certain parameters that are met within the system that they've programmed the system to look for, your resume doesn't even get looked at all. It goes right into the trash can, into the file. So you have to be very careful on this 2-page document, right? So that's why it's very clutch to at least come and talk to someone like us to get it, even if you feel like you've got a good resume, come and get it checked out, and we'll help you out with that, because a lot of people don't even know that system exists, and they keep getting frustrated that they're not getting phone calls or no one's responding to them or whatever. And more than likely it's because your resume got eaten up by the ATS system and they never got seen. So.
And that's very interesting. I really appreciate all that information.
Yeah.
That information is not necessarily getting out to our force, not only because of our
Right.
messaging issue, but because this is a new program. Right? Work for Warriors is new. What was it before? Does Indiana have something prior to this?
Yeah, it was the Indiana Outreach and Employment Team. It was a very small team still, and we're only 7 now. Just recently hired a few more people, but it was a small team, and I think they just they didn't have the abilities that the Work for Warriors package has. And, after we rebranded and came in and kind of revamped everything, I think they, just changed it up and made it better.
So that was the previous entity that kind of filled this space was only for Indiana, whereas Work for Warriors is more of a 13, would say a national entity, right? With national reach, local roots, national reach.
Yep. It has, 13 different states have signed up for this Work for Warriors package, and it originated in Georgia. And if you go online and Google it, there's different Work for Warriors throughout the country, and they all have their different labels, and they're very identifiable. A lot of them put their state shapes in their logos and stuff like that. But we reach out and talk to each other. All the Work for Warriors people manage within and can reach out to each other.
Are any of the states looking for a podcaster? Is that a job that anyone's looking for?
You know what? I think if you started your own podcast, you'd be very successful.
Perfect.
I would listen to it, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate you, sir.
So we know Indiana has a diverse range of jobs, from manufacturing. Cyber now is taking off. Is there any specific industry that you guys are being Work for Warriors are placing these soldiers and airmen and finding them employment with, or is it you just kind of shotgun blasting their resumes, or if they're interested in a certain position, and how their military background kind of benefits the employment or that position they're applying for?
We try to look at the individual and target where we're going to go based upon all of their talents and skill sets. So it's just really based upon each individual, where they want to go, what their skill sets. We have multiple different agencies that kind of partner with us. You have Waste Management, you have Eli Lilly, Goodyear, L3 Harris recently up in Fort Wayne. So a lot of these companies, the wide range of different positions, wide range of different employees that they ask for. So what we really like to do is take the individual, focus on what they can offer, and then what their needs are, and then kind of direct them to where it's going to be the most beneficial for them.
So if a soldier's like a, say, 68 Romeo, and
veterinary food inspection specialist, in case you weren't tracking.
And they want to apply for like a cyber job, you're going to kind of lead them that way and be like, hey, maybe this isn't a good fit for you.
No, yeah, that's there would be some discussions there.
I had to bring up the 68 Romeo because he does it.
It's me. That's me.
Is that you really? That would be you.
Yeah, veterinary food inspection
you would
specialist.
be extra special like that. Yeah, you are.
But if you had a soldier that was a signal soldier or a cyber soldier that had these Net Plus, Security Plus, you'd be able to help them tailor that resume for those jobs.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was a challenge at first. We had some, when I first started, there was some very challenging IT specialists that there was, the IT language is a little complicated sometimes. So that I had to do some research myself on different things. But I love IT resumes now. I love getting these guys jobs because there's a few of them that I've gotten jobs for that were very surprised at how much their salary increased over their very short amount of time. So, and those certificates, those guys down there, I think they're starting to figure it out. They have a very good problem. Most of them don't look for jobs; they look for what job they're going to choose.
Yeah, I think it's. I was reading some interesting stuff about. You could offer someone, a six-figure position, but they determine that the company's not a good fit, and they want a more relaxed environment, and they're willing to take a pay cut to not work so hard.
I just had that happen. I had this. I had a captain who's in northern Indiana. Who's one of my stories here. So he was just returned off a MOB, received a very good job, remote job. His goal was to come home and start a homestead, and he was fulfilling that goal, but the position that he took was requiring him to work a lot more hours than he anticipated. And even working from home, when you're stuck in a room for 14 hours a day, you're not really home, And he wanted to farm. He wanted to enjoy living on the land a little bit and raise his family, homeschool his kid, all that good stuff. Well, we had to do some reevaluating, and there were requests for jobs that were a little bit above what he was asking for, and we had to have some hard conversations. And once we got him back on track, very happy now. He loves what he's doing. He's in a very hybrid position, a little bit less salary, but the work-life balance is exactly where he needs it, and that's the main goal.
You're talking about some of these companies, some of the success. Can you share or highlight any of these awesome partnerships you have, any of these strategic partnerships you have with local organizations out here in Indiana?
Yeah, so Waste Management has done, and Eli Lilly have done a very good job here recently. Mostly before I got hired on, there was a massive hiring for both of those companies. Along with some other, very small organizations throughout the state that, like mom and pop, small businesses love hiring service members. They absolutely love it. So you don't hear, really maybe not know their names or their companies or their stores or whatever it is, but we do a lot of hiring with locally owned people. So
we talked about it, I think, before the episode started about, I think it was some of my challenges of being a first sergeant and my soldiers knowing what unemployed, underemployment, and being dissatisfied in their roles. Can you kind of explain to that and elaborate, obviously unemployment, but underemployment specifically? And in my opinion, and not that my opinion matters, but if you're working a fast food as a soldier, you're underemployed. You could be doing more. You have a lot more talent and potential than working. And if you're happy, you're happy. But you could be doing more. And I feel like they just don't have the key.
Yeah.
So if you could elaborate on underemployment.
Well, so I put it back on them again, like you said. It's wherever you are in life, where you need to be. If like you gave it a good example, if there's any one of our soldiers still working in a fast food area, I think they're underemployed, right? Even at the lowest level, I think you have different skill sets that can get you a little bit higher salaries. But even some of the fast food places are I mean, I just passed
Manager
the
at
sign the other
McDonald's.
day. It was McDonald's was $18 an hour. So, so some of these places are actually meeting their people where they need to meet them with the money wise. So some of them are happy working a swing shift and flipping burgers or whatever. So, but what I will say is that if the individual, if we notice that the individual has a big family, if there's a change and they need more income, that's a big indicator. If you need more income, then you are underemployed. So you need to better yourself or to find another position, right? So it's really up to the individual is if whether they feel underemployed or not. I think a glaring example would be what you just said. If we have people that are working, completely opposite jobs to what they're, and I think a lot of that comes back to individual counseling. In the Army we call it soldiering. I don't know what the Air Force calls it.
Air Forcing.
Air Forcing. I don't know, but when we are as NCOs or leaders, period, when we're supposed to get to know our people. And it would only require a few questions to ask. What's your family like? What are you doing? Well, I'm working at McDonald's and I have 3 kids. And I don't know what to do. Okay, that's a huge indicator that you need to reach out to someone like me, and we need to fix this problem out. So a lot of this could be figured out at the basic fundamental leadership level. Right?
I think some of it might even be a pride issue.
Yeah.
And to me, a lot of the issues I see with soldiers, it stems from financial, and their employment. And you want to find a job where you wake up every single day and you enjoy what you do, and it makes it easy for me. I know what I'm wearing every single day, and I enjoy the people I work with and the work. But if you wake up and you're not happy, that's a star cluster right there. You need to start looking. And I mean, if you're not looking for, even if you are happy and you're not looking for employment, especially in the market right now, I think you might be a little crazy. You don't know what's out there.
Yes,
there's a lot of people hiring right now, and there's also some layoffs, and that's scary. But job security.
Yeah.
But yeah, service members just need to look at a couple things, and that, in my opinion, is that. Is it something you enjoy doing?
Yeah.
And is it enough money to sustain life? Because those two stressors, I think, are what cause a lot of people to go off the deep end. I'm trying to retire and then go work for USPS at like 60 years old and walk mail to mailboxes.
And what I've discovered in my journey like that as well. So you can kind of window into the future here is what I've seen is it may not be a job where you wake up, and you jump out of bed and you're excited to go into work every day, but that job may be just enough, and you may be happy enough there to be able to do the things that you love when you get off work. So can you tolerate it for 8 to 10 hours a day? Is it not toxic? Is it not negatively impacting your mental health being there? And does it give you the finances or the time or whatever it is that you need to do the things that you love outside of work? Does it give your family enough money to go to Disneyland a couple times a year? Do you have enough money to go, buy all your hunting gear? Do you have enough money to take your wife out on a date every now and then, or whatever it is? So that's what you may not have the perfect job, but does it offer you the things that you need for your family to be happy? And I've just discovered that, it's just a weird philosophy thing that I looking in this employment realm of things and the different books that you read and everything like that. So it kind of changed my mind a little bit. It's like, okay, there's no perfect job out there for a lot of people, but is it good enough for you to earn enough money to be happy when you walk out the door, So
That's a really cool perspective.
Yeah.
But you are very happy with your job, right? To clarify.
Very happy. Oh yeah, very happy.
sure.
This is, I've had to have that conversation with clients. Like, I'm not happy with my job. Not happy with my job. Okay. What I'm getting at is the grass is not always greener on the other side.
Fair.
When they want to, because I will have a lot of them call me with jobs. Matter of fact, I don't have any unemployed people right now at all. My client list is all employed individuals, and they just want a better job, right? So eventually you have to have these conversations. You have to say, okay, look, what are you earning now? And then you compare that to what they could be earning, or do you want to do things to make yourself more marketable within your company? That way you don't have to do some of the, hard stuff or the BS stuff or whatever it is that's making you miserable. You can promote yourself within. You admire that guy that's in the front office that plays Candy Crush all day and writes a memo here and there and he gets paid $15,000 more than you. Okay, what does he have that you don't? Does he have a project management certificate? Does he have an HR certificate? Does he have a SHRM? What separates that person from you? And just go meet that. And
I think you always have to improve. The moment you stay stagnant and you're not chasing that next certificate or that next job, that's that self-development, right?
Yep.
The moment you stop doing that, because we're entitled to nothing. We're entitled to nothing. We have to work for it. Nothing's given to you. You have to earn it. So that's just kind of the mentality you have to go for. And I think Noto is going to go that way with the resume question and kind of help us understand more. We talk resumes a lot, but
yeah,
we did talk resumes a lot.
Yeah.
No, and you just brought up SHRM. Like as First Sergeant Beatty talked about, like I'm in SHRM right now through the Army Cool program. It doesn't cost me a dime, and it's worth thousands of dollars to a civilian employer. But you had also mentioned, getting a better job. Does having a good resume help you improve your job at your current employer? And what are some of the common pitfalls you're seeing with our service members and their resume building skills or lack thereof? If all your clients are already employed, I'm assuming it's a resume issue.
Mm-hmm. So what I will say is that most of my clients, when they're at their current job, to get themselves promoted, it's usually something within the organization, some sort of training that separates them from earning more money. A lot of it is the work-life balance. So a lot of the clients are not happy with how hard they're working or the hours they're working. Very few of them have, toxic management. There's only a few of those, actually, surprisingly. But most of it is just the work-life balance and getting thrown around schedules and stuff like that. But if they want to improve or change their trajectory in their current organization, like for example, GM, there's a lot of places to move up in GM. There's a lot of places to move up in waste management. There's a lot of places to move up in Eli Lilly. All these places have positions, and usually they're always hiring. And I will tell people, if you work at the organization and you see an open position, apply for it, because 100 times out of 100, they will hire someone within before they hire someone outside of the organization. right? So networking, folks. If you're listening to this podcast and you don't listen to anything else, network. I don't care if it's the janitor that you know in the organization. Give them a call, send them an email, text message. Try to leverage anything that you possibly can for networking capabilities to get yourself into. You're very familiar with this, being a recruiter.
I am.
You can rub your badge there for a little bit and teach us a little bit about networking. But that to you probably made you successful as a recruiter, is networking and stuff like that. But so it works out in a lot of ways.
Would you articulate that maybe you should be able to network through the National Guard as well, through finding people that are already at that employer that wear the same uniform as us?
That is the best. That is the absolute best. When you get in formation and your leadership team says, so and so works at this company, they're hiring. That is the absolute best to just start lining up. When you have an individual, especially in your formation, that works for, like in my area, there's this company called Lippert Components, and it makes all the trailer factory components for all, like the fifth wheels and the big, Class A's and all that stuff in our area. Elkhart is a big RV manufacturing place. Anyway, so we have several unit members that work at Lippert Components. So anytime they do a hiring push, it is put out to the formations and get your resumes ready, and they collect. So, and then usually there's several of them that get hired that way almost instantly.
So we've the job's there. We're applying for the job. We got a great resume. What are some skills that would help you be a better interviewee? I think it's
Interview
interviewee, right?
skills.
Is that it? Yeah.
So when I tell, believe it or not, our clients don't have a lot of problems with interviewing skills and interviewing issues. So, but if they do, the ones that we've had in the past, it might be a little nervous. They're usually the younger individuals are nervous about going in for an interview. And I tell them that it's between going on a date and going into a leadership board or promotion board. So you don't want to, pile on the perfume or the cologne, and you don't want to, dress for success in the date. You're really not hitting all the aspects of a leadership board. You don't have to sit at attention and be rigid and, bark orders at you and stuff like that. But so if you could just meet in the middle, and so when I give them that perspective, they usually kind of understand, like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Give them a visualization of what that looks like.
No facing movements in traditional civilian.
No facing movements in your interviews. You don't have to salute anybody before you leave. You'll probably not get the job if you do that.
That's actually happened to me, unfortunately.
That might actually be my favorite. My favorite thing about one of my favorite things about being a first sergeant is leading those boards.
It's a good time, isn't it?
It is a good time. You get some really interesting questions. You get to know the soldiers a little bit more.
Yeah.
But really glad any interview in the civilian world, you're not walking in, saluting, reporting to the president of the board, and getting permission to sit down.
You find out real quick on those boards who can take pressure and who can't. It's really funny. Sweating buckets and.
So, all right. So, we talked about writing a resume. We talked a little bit about the interview. How do I, one, get in contact with Work for Warriors? How is there a portal where I can just sign up and say, hey, I'm looking for a job, and then you guys reach out to me? And then, like, what are you guys doing for those? What are you doing that maybe a traditional, we'll call them headhunters, aren't doing for our soldiers and airmen and families?
So to sign up, it's several different ways. So you can either sign up directly through the website, and it's very simple. You just put your name, phone number, email, and then a brief little comment of what you would, hey, I'm unemployed. I'm looking for a better job. I'm currently employed. And then there's a place for you to load your resume as well. So the website is a really good one. Other than that, then, all of us usually have social media or, marketing materials in our armories and stuff like that. The National Guard app that Mr.
Who did that?
that I really appreciate you setting up, sir. I utilize that. I've started a group on there for Work for Warriors, so that's another way. Hey, I want to look for a job. You just sign up through the app. So there's several different ways.
So you said a website. Is that workforwarriorsin.org off the top of my head?
It's exactly that. So it's www.workforwarriorsin.org. And if you Google it, a bunch of the Work for Warriors will come up, and to differentiate, you just look for the state of Indiana logo and you click on that one.
And then you said, so in the app, you open the app, join the group. What's the group code to join that?
That one is just Indiana.
Just Indiana, and that will join the Work for Warriors group.
What? I haven't used the app in a long time.
Well, I know the guy, and I know the girl.
Guy.
We'll make sure it's in the description.
I think I made it a public code. I think I made it a public group. I don't know if I put a code on there. I thought
I can be rude and I can pull my phone out and I can look and clarify. But
that's all right. Yeah. Sorry. I will get you that.
But you have a group on the app, right?
Unfortunately, I haven't used it. Obviously, I don't know the code.
So you haven't utilized it yet, but you have the group started. You intend on using it?
I would love to use it. It would be a great resource for all of our team members to be on, and just for someone to fire a question or two or something.
So maybe we can market it somehow with the communications platform of
It'd be great. Like I would love for Work for Warriors to be a button on the app, and they just open the app and log on and get help from us, man. It'd be great.
But there's definitely a website.
There's definitely a website.
Okay, perfect.
There's definitely a website. Now it's really very important to do the IN. Now don't worry about it. So the whole Work for Warriors, just Work for Warriors, California has owned that website. So they own that Work for Warriors, right? So when you just do Work for Warriors and you sign up through theirs, it goes to California, but they quickly, they know that
they're not stingy with it.
Yeah, they send it to our supervisors, and they're like, "Hey, there's an Indiana." So we usually get it within a couple hours, so it's not a problem. But Work for Warriors, IN.org is how you can get a hold of me. And my number, let me say my number.
Yeah,
if you want to give out
my number is 574-855-9425. And my email address is andrew.shackleford@workforwarriorsin.org.
That might also be in the description of the video.
I think it's in the description.
It's probably going to be in the description of the video.
Yeah.
So we spoke a lot about what your program has done. Can you share any success stories that particularly stand out to you from this program?
Sure, I have a couple of them, but the one that stands out the most was one of our foreign soldiers in our formation. He's from Africa, just moved here, joined. He's highly motivated to put this uniform on. He's one of the most patriotic kids I've talked to in a long time. And of course, him being from a foreign land, he was having a little bit of trouble in the employment world, and just didn't know how to translate his skills in the environment very well. So we helped him. Took just a little bit to get him a job, but he had a lot of different skills that just he wasn't able to portray them on a resume because of the language barrier. But he was able to get a very nice paying job, and now he's able to bring his family over and just live the American dream. And that's like, it still gives me goosebumps when I talk about it, man. It was just, he was so happy. I got several emails about, how happy he was and how, I could hear the emotion through the email. So yeah, it was very touching. It was a very good day. Made me feel really good.
First Sergeant Beatty had brought this up earlier, the traditional headhunter. I don't think we've asked, how much does this service cost for a soldier to use or airman?
$0.
$0
for a service member to come to us, now, we don't write their resume for them, right? So we're in the teaching, coaching, and mentor mentality, right? So we're teaching them to fish. A lot of these organizations that write resumes for these soldiers will charge a couple $100 a pop. They'll get an okay resume, but it's giving them zero skills going forward in life. So they have to go back to them to find out how to write a resume or whatever, or it'll eventually end up with someone like me or one of the other employment specialists. So what I think separates us from those is we really get into the teaching and mentoring factor for writing these resumes and improving their skill sets and gaining employment. So that all of us on this team really focus on helping instead of just checking the block. We want to set these people up for success further than just the moment in time that we're helping them. So I think that's what separates us a little bit is that aspect. And when they leave, we hold them, essentially by the hand until they are very comfortable in their new position, and then we tell them, we'll back off a little bit, and if you need us to reach back out. But that's one of our main focuses is to really develop their skill sets in writing a resume, and because it's not very hard to teach, right? At least the basic concepts are not. So once they grasp the basic concepps of it, it's pretty miraculous what happens after that. They'll spot check. I've done it long enough now to where I've had individuals get a job from my help and then decide to move on to a different job, and they'll come to me for help again, but it won't be as in depth. It'll say, I have changed my resume a little bit. Will you check it out? And usually it'll be really good, or there'll be one or two tweaks, and that's usually it. And they're set up for success.
So would you say that having one generic, I wouldn't say generic, having one resume of your skills and your experience is the way to go, or should they tailor their resume to a specific job they're applying for? Because in my experience, being a hiring manager here and seeing resumes for people who come in and want to work in my office, it's almost like some people will just do a generic, just some of their skills, like they're a soldier and they did soldier things, and that's great. Appreciate your experience, but I think it's correlating and tying in how your position as a squad leader in an infantry company, relates to the civilian world, and cutting the jargon out. Is that kind of something you go over a little bit? And we talked resumes and kind of beating this horse, but I think really it's the most important aspect behind it all.
It really is. It really, it's hard to believe that two pieces of paper, are so important, but it really is kind of a window for another person to see you and without knowing you at all, or seeing you, or not even knowing your name. So they have only two pieces of paper to look at you and determine whether or not you're going to be worthy enough to call in for an interview, right? So what I'll tell you is absolutely option B. If you are using one resume for everything, that is absolutely wrong. That is 100% what you should not be doing. Using the same resume for the same, application over and over and over again is more than likely the reason that you're not getting phone calls back. So tailoring your resume, some people get wrapped up in the details. It's really not that hard. You take the job description, whatever job description, and there's usually always some type of paragraph or qualifications or what that company is looking for in an individual. Right off the bat, you want to look at your resume and make sure that it is focused towards that position. For example, if you have a project management position that you're applying for, and let's say it's an agile project management position, first thing we would look for is if you have those qualifications or not, right? Do you have those qualifications? Are they listed on here? And is your resume geared towards a project management position? Does it have a lot of the buzzwords, right? Does it have the summary paragraph? Does it mimic the duty description at the very beginning of the job description, right? Are there buzzwords from that job description in your resume? Those are the types of things that we go over and we kind of develop. And once you have a good base resume, the tailoring really doesn't take that much. You spend 10 to 15 minutes and you should be good. After you get it down, especially because what they want is right in front of you. So the company will put what they want on the job description. All you have to do is carry that over into your resume as best you can without lying, right? So as long as you pick out the buzzwords and cater that resume more towards that job posting, you're going to have a lot better luck getting it past the ATS, number one, and then getting it in front of an interviewer.
Would you say that it's important to have a LinkedIn in addition to those two pieces of paper?
I think in today's age, a social media like LinkedIn or Indeed,
Yeah.
or ZipRecruiter, if you're looking for employment, I think number one, they're free. So it's like, why not have those, right? Now, if you're a 19-year-old kid and you're looking for, if you're looking for a position to, fuel your alcoholic consumption habits on the weekend, LinkedIn probably not the best resource for you. Maybe not. I don't know. It's to each of their own. I say yes. I say it's good to have at least one of those employment social media sites, and they're free. Just do it.
Absolutely. So you spent 20 years in the military. How has your experience, 20 plus years in the military, how has your experience in the military transferred to your civilian life and your work with work for warriors, I'm sorry. And then, what is one piece of advice you'd offer someone who is, thinking about potentially joining the military?
So, man, we could talk all day on that one. Like the experiences that I've had, teaching, coaching, and mentoring soldiers, the NCOES schools and the MOS training, whatever, that's all fine and dandy. But the leadership skills that I've learned over the years are really what the bread and butter is for just about any job out there, especially if you're looking at a managerial role or supervisory role or any kind of leadership role. What the military gives you is something that no other company can give you. There's no other organization on the planet that gives you the type of leadership training that the military gives you, period. End of story. And there's the companies out there that know this, like the companies I mentioned before. So you have different areas where different support is greater and less. But what I tell you at the end of the day, if you're thinking about joining the military and you're looking at what's in front of you, your job, the skills that job's going to give you or something, what you're not seeing is the leadership, the teaching, coaching, and mentoring that you're going to receive in our ranks. That it just cannot be, it can't be reproduced anywhere else. So that's what a lot of the young individuals, and some even older, don't fully realize what they have and what they've developed and what they can get from this organization. So
Yeah, I think I said it earlier. It is what you put into it.
Mhm.
It's what you get out. The military will replace you tomorrow, and you have to better yourself every single day and use your benefits. Use GI Bill, NGSG. Use Work for Warriors. Better your resume. Better yourself. So when you're done with your military service, it's not, the transition is so much easier for you. And really, what you do and what your team does for our service members is amazing. And I know I appreciate it. I'm gonna make sure next time when I have my underemployed roster, I give them your point of contact or whoever my regional rep is. But again, Work for Heroes website, which is
Work for Warriors.
I said Heroes again.
It's my fault.
Work for
You got that in my head.
warriorsin.org. And like I said, if you Google it, Work for Warriors, just be careful. Just look for our state. We're blue and yellow. My number is 574-855-9425 if you want to get a hold of me. And you can also hopefully soon have a little bit easier access to find us on the National Guard app. And but if you have the app, we have a group set up So there's several different ways that you can get a hold of us. And I, like you said, that right there, what you told me with being a first sergeant, that's what we could really use your help with, is getting that. Like I said, we have a messaging problem. We don't have a message problem, right? The messaging for us and what we do needs to get out to the leadership a little bit more, and really get down to the name tape level, and makes that resource something that's very common in the armory. So that way, instantly when someone's having a problem, they don't have a question on where to go. They know automatically, call Work for Warriors. So,
Boom. I love that.
that's right.
Well, sir, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. First Sergeant Beatty, thanks for joining me as the excellent co-host. Another great episode of the Lima Charlie podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Lima Charlie out.
Oh, just a lot of stations stepping on each other. Roger, you're good.